You may want to stay tuned for this one. We've only got an absolute legend on with us. Stay tuned. Mr. Dan Potts, how are you, my bro?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me, man. It's been a long time coming. It's my bad. I've been busy. I've been trying to put aside some time. And I was hoping over the international break I could come on, man, but it just didn't happen. So I thought I'd try and get on as quick as I could, man. But how are you, Mark? You good,
Yeah,
bro?
I'm good, mate. I'm really good. I've got, do you know, Dan, it has been. I think we've been trying to plan this for about 4 months, and it's just like
Easily.
just your schedule is just like crazy, mate. But I'm going to dive into all that, if I may. So there'll be some personal kind of questions coming out here, Dan. But I hope it's all good, mate. And I've
Of
got a
course.
couple of questions as well that are coming your way, not from me, from the other two guys that are on the show. So I'm
Sure.
going to apologise first and foremost for them. When you see one of them, you'll understand why.
Nice, man.
So Dan, I started following you, and this for me is massive because I started following you, and I think you had something like 6K followers on
Okay.
your YouTube channel. I think we're going back to probably maybe just the end of the pandemic, if I'm correct.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's way back to that. So how's your journey been, Dan, from that period to blowing up to the way that you are now?
Yeah, it's been busy, bro, but in a good way. It's been a great few years, man. And I kind of started content like anybody else. I started chatting football and didn't really care, if I'm honest, about doing it for a living. It was just something that I enjoyed doing as a hobby. I started to meet great people, and then other people invited me on their shows and platforms. And that was probably around sort of the Unai Emery time. And then when that was coming to an end, the start of Mikel Arteta was when it started to really take off for me. And people were saying, yeah, could you come on my show? Could you come on my show? And I kind of got to a stage where I was like, do you know what? I still need to stop being the bridesmaid now. Like, let's sort everybody else out. Let's go be the bride. Do you know what I mean? So I thought to myself, let's go and, step into it myself. I started football's 12th man around about 2021, 22, and went part-time from my job. I was working for a health charity at the time, and I was quite happy. I was helping people with disabilities. It was a rewarding job. I got to know great people and meet unbelievable, inspirational people, and thought, yeah, I'm quite happy doing this. I don't really see the need to dive into it big time and do it full time. So I'm quite happy. And then the channel started to earn a little bit of money, and I thought, let's do it part time then and go down a few hours. So I dropped a few hours at work back in 2022, I think it was. And then I pulled the plug around about 18 months ago and said, you know what, let's just go and take this forward now with the channel. And AFTV were getting me on, and I do quite a lot with lead judges, and I just become busier. So I thought, you know what, let's drop the work daytime and try and sort my life out admin wise to try and go around the content that I produce. So that's what I'm now doing and have been doing for the last 18 months on my own. And it's been a great journey in terms of seeing growth, but also seeing the individuals that have helped me and seeing them now doing their own channels, and people that come on my channel now going and doing their thing. And it's been really nice to see that journey, and for everybody else involved, like, sort of grow naturally. So yeah, it's been busy times, but I wouldn't change it for the world, man. It's been a great couple of years. It really has.
Dan, how like I remember when you went full time on just content
Yeah.
creation, and that must have been so difficult a decision to jump from having a job to actually giving it up and then just throwing every single thing into doing this. Was it a hard decision? Did you have to take months to reflect on that, or did you just know it was the right thing to do?
So I was told by people that were doing it full time, you'll know when is the right time to go full time. And I actually don't know that I ever did. I thought the other way around. If I don't do this, maybe I never will. Maybe I'll just stay part time, just never have the confidence to go and do it full time. And then I looked at my finances and what I was earning at work and what I was earning on my channel and through YouTube and freelance work. And I thought, actually, if I got to a stage where perhaps I weren't earning what I was hoping, or what I needed to get by, then I'll just go and get a day job somewhere for a couple of days a week and go and do some Amazon delivery driving, or I'll go and do something for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And touch wood, I haven't had to do that. And I think what I probably looked at more so was maybe I needed to have a little bit more confidence and do it a bit earlier. But I also, Mark, I've got to be honest, I don't look back. Some people say, I bet you wish you would have done it 4 years ago. I wasn't ready 4 years ago. Like, you can sit there and say that all you want. I wasn't really ready to go and pull the plug at that early in life. And had a lot of other things on at the time. And I think people that say to me you weren't experienced then, I wasn't. I wouldn't have taken it seriously 4 years ago. I just wanted to talk football and have a chat and laugh. But as much as I like doing that now, it is a serious business and it's a very hard working one. You know, a lot of people do think it's easy. You'll know yourself it's difficult. You know, I know it looks easy. You flip up a laptop and go, Arsenal, 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 goodbye. Shut the laptop down. They think that's your job. There's a hell of a lot more than comes to that, you know, and I think some people are kind of unaware until they get into it themselves at how busy it can be, but also how much hard work it can be. So even if you have not a so busy day, there might be a hell of a lot more going on in the background. There's a lot more admin stuff. You get a lot more deals. A lot of people reach out to you. A lot of collaborations are needed. And I feel bad because I can't say yes to everybody, you know, which is why I say it's so long to get on here, because there's so many other people. Please come and have a chat with me, which I love. I love football. But sometimes you do have to be realistic with your time as well and say, look, if I said yes to collab with everybody that comes on my channel, everybody that watches my channel, I wouldn't have a channel. I'd be just going on theirs. I wouldn't be working on my own. So like sometimes you have to be realistic about your time and careful with your time without being rude to people or making it sound like you're ignorant to them. Because I never want to do that. I've always been a massive part of football's 12 man's community has been great. And I've been a massive fan of that. And people that have supported me, I always want to give back and help where I can. So that's why it's been so busy, but it's been a great life. I can't complain about any of it. It's a fantastic life, and I'd recommend it to anyone if they wanted to get into it seriously.
Yeah, I love it, Dan. And you know, you're absolutely right. I mean, at the moment, if I pop up YouTube and type in Arsenal, the first thing I see is probably you. You're on either your own show or you're on everybody else's. So you've done TNT Sports a couple of times. I've saw you a couple of times on there. Don't know if you've done many more than that. How did that come about? Was it just like walking past one day, or is it through the fact that you're kind of an influencer that you're recognised?
Yeah, a little bit of both. So sometimes it's who you know and who you've met through this game. And sometimes people will reach out to you. So there's been opportunities I've got within AFTV, and that's been through contacts with lead judges. And people have said, oh, could you speak to Dan Potts? Because he's been doing stuff with you. Would he be interested in coming on? That was a few years ago. DR Sports as well, through Robbie, have asked me to come on and do bits with him. Gambling.com have asked me to go on and do some stuff sometimes. But TNT was actually Tom Canton who helped me out and big him up for that, because what they actually wanted was TNT had reached out to him and said, do you know a father and son that go to football together? And he just thought of me and my dad straight away. So he said, TNT might reach out to you and say, do you want to have a chat? So they did, and they said, look, would you and your dad be able to chat on the camera? Well, my dad doesn't do what I do. He hates the camera, right? So he was like shitting himself, you know, and they sort of said, would your dad be okay just to answer a question? So he did, and he was fine. He got through it. And then
it was good.
You know, they said, you were really good. We'd like to talk to you again. Would you be all right for the next home game? And they only do the 12:30 games. It's only the 12:30 television games. And we haven't had one of those for all season. And majority are back end of last season. So they do have me on when it's a 12:30 game. And they've said they might reach out this season. And I don't think we've been at 12:30 at TNT yet. Maybe on the Saturday, they'll probably reach out to me against Villa and say, do you want to do it again? But they haven't done much of it this year. They started to get a few fans involved. I don't know that they are as much now. But people do recognize your profile. You'd be surprised the power of YouTube, the people that watch you. You'd be surprised at how people know who you are, who I am, who you know, people just think, if I'm not Robbie Lyle, no one will have a clue who I am. That's just not the case. Like,
it's not the case.
People watch, you know, so much TikTok and Instagram stuff as well as YouTube now that you will get recognized and noticed. And it's good. You know, look, it's not always nice. You get a hell of a lot of abuse because you're putting your opinions out there, and it's quite a big voice that you have. And the people that disagree with you are going to come at you like, I hate this. This guy's all over everywhere saying this. And that's why people get a bad rep. There's also people that say stuff that's really positive, like Arsenal are the best team since sliced bread and Pep Guardiola can't talk to Arteta. And they're like, what is this guy on? He's mad. And they go mental that way. So you get like the kind of fans over this side and the fans over that side, and then you get
Yeah.
those come in and you get the balanced ones right in the middle. And I think that that's where what football fans are, man. You have an opinion either side. So
Do you know what? That was actually going to be one of my questions, because I've got it written down. Not a question, but one of the reasons I started watching you and I started enjoying your content is because there's three sections of Arsenal fans that I believe. You've got the far left, Arteta, regardless,
yeah,
it doesn't matter. Then you've got me, I'm far right, and I could add content to what's happening at Arsenal, why we fell off the cliff last season in the Premier League. I could add content to that, but I'm Arteta in. And I believe that you're kind of in the middle. I think that you're probably more balanced. So you've got a bit of the right-hand side and also a bit of the left, but you do kind of take in and see it. And this is why I'm looking forward to really diving into this with you, Dan, because I think that there is a bit that I picked up watching one of your podcasts, but I will dive into that. And it just shows the difference of both of them. But it's enjoyable anyway. I will start with a couple of the questions from the guys. So I do the show with two other guys.
Cool.
So one of the guys, just have to explain this. One of the guys is quite sensible, Dan. So you'll understand that from the question. The second guy is American. Now, he spent £6,000 to £7,000 to come over here for pre-season friendly in the summer. So, which is related to his kind of question, but it just shows how massive that Arsenal are. So, we'll start with Sean's question. What do you expect Arsenal to achieve this season?
I think Arsenal have to win the league this season, and I'll tell you why. I look at the inconsistency of the teams around us, Manchester City, Chelsea, and Liverpool. I was amazed by the drop-off. I had Liverpool winning the league because I felt like their summer was ridiculous. Luckily, the too many cooks have spoilt the broth and Slot's struggling, and I don't see them winning the league now. So I think with Arsenal, with the squad we've got, with the experience we've got, with the learn-how and the know-how now of what does go wrong, and hopefully Arteta learning from that, I think Arsenal do have and are in the best position to win this league. I think the squad is the best it's been in a long time, probably since the Highbury days. So I think Arsenal should look to win the league. Now, people might look and get greedy and go, is that it? But actually, I'll take that, right? Because the league is absolutely what we all want. Now, I would love the Champions League. And in fact, I'd probably love that more because you've never won it. I'd love a League Cup because I think we should take the domestic cup seriously. And the FA Cup is one I've always grew up loving. But the Carabao Cup, the Champions League, and the FA Cup is harder sometimes to predict because it's a knockout. With the league, it's consistency. And I think Arsenal have been the most consistent team right now. I don't see us losing many games. I think teams around us will lose more than Arsenal. Now, look, this can crumble. We've seen it before. I've been 8 points clear before, right? But I just think something's different this season. I just feel the squad's too good that if we do have a few injuries, like we've seen already, we're coping. Nkapie, Mosquera, it's no longer Rob Holding. You know, the wingers that we got aren't Nelson and Sterling. No disrespect to any of these players, by the way, but they just weren't at the level we needed. We don't have Eddie Nketiah being thrown on now, Fabi Vieira being thrown on now, Lokonga, Tavares. We've now actually got players that people like look at the top six sides and go, I'd actually take them in my first team. I'd love Eze. I'd love Madueke. I'd love Havertz up top for us. I'd love, in midfield, Norgard, who was the captain of Brentford. I'd love to see Marino in our side scoring goals like he does for Spain and Arsenal. And that's different. They were not even touched on Lewis Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri and Max Dowman all coming through. I think the squad's good now, and we've got to go and win it, man, because if we don't win this season, I just don't know when we're going to, Mark. I've got to be honest. It's got to be this year, man.
Yeah, Dan, I absolutely agree. See, the reason I kind of, I'm glad that Sean asked that question, that brought it up. I've watched a few of your podcasts, and before, the season, things change within a season, obviously, because we're 13 games in now, and we could add context to Liverpool's drop-off. City, a bit inconsistent, so things do change. But when I watched one of your shows, Dan, you said that as long as we won a cup, at the beginning, that you'd be happy with that, just to start the momentum of this is what it feels like to win and get over the line, etc. And I disagreed with you, Dan, because I felt, and the reason, not in a bad way, but what I felt, and I am an absolute Arteta in, what I felt, Dan, was once Arteta got all the tools that he needed, there's no excuse. So for me, if we won a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup this season, for me, I wasn't having it. I wanted the Premier League or Champions League. And although they're hard to win, I expected that. So I was a bit shocked just at the start of the season that you came up with it, even though that like just your middle kind of base down, if you know what I mean. But I was shocked that you would have been happy with maybe just one of the smaller cups rather than one of the majors. But it's good that you've changed with the context.
Yeah, I think for me, where I'm at, Mark, is I'm a little bit starving over here, man. We've been over 5 years now without a trophy.
100%.
And I want one. And I think where some of the fans are different to me is they look at the FA Cup and the League Cup very differently to me. Now, I grew up winning that. I remember it in 93, and obviously FA Cups have been unbelievable to see them, right? So I wouldn't poo-poo those trophies. Now, what I'm saying is not, we win that, good, we can all relax. We don't have to win anything now. We've won a Carabao Cup, everyone can chill. Obviously, I want to go and dominate. I want to go and win everything, right? But I think with Arteta, the question was, if he doesn't win the Premier League or the Champions League, would you sack him? Right? Now, everyone said yes. The reason I said no, and this is me, who's definitely questioned Arteta before and said, get out, I've dumped enough.
100.
Right? The reason I think is I want this guy to win something with this team so that I can see what happens then. If he can install winning mentality in, he might go and do something mad. He might go and win that League Cup and then win something else again in May. He might then the following season get, let's say, the Carabao Cup this season and the league. Let's just dream for a moment. And then once we've won that, you think, actually, there's no stopping this guy now. He's just going to win a Champions League the year after. He's just going to want to think. We don't know that he's going to do that, but I want to give him a chance to prove that he can win more than just the Carabao Cup. Because I actually think that now this team's won something and they're hungry. Let's go and see what they do. So that's why I give him another season. I'm not saying keep Arteta for 10 years. He's just won a Carabao Cup, right? But I do think if he wins that League Cup, I think he deserves another season to be going and win something else. That's all I was saying. And some people said that was really bad. The standards are on the floor and all this kind of stuff, which is fine. And and I'll say this, I've got nothing against people saying if he doesn't win the Champs, Dan, or he doesn't win the Premier League, Dan, he has to go. I'm not going to say you're a disgrace, you're deluded, get out of my club. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that's great, that's your opinion, and I like the standards. Go. But if we're sacking Arteta, it has to be for a Hansi Flick or a Luis Enrique. I don't want the De Zerbi coming in. I don't want another who are we learnt off of Pep coming in. We've done all that. Might as well just keep Arteta, right? I want someone who's levels on Arteta, and there are managers out there. So that's kind of how I answered that question. And some people didn't like that. They were like, "Oh, that's out of order. It's got to be the league or the Champions League." Like, just who do you think we are, Everton? And I'm like, no, I don't think we're Everton. My standards have always been high. But I would take a season of winning trophy this season and allow Arteta to have one after. And if he can't win it after that, then he can go. That's where I'm at.
Do you know what, Dan? This is why I feel and I enjoy watching you, because you are in the middle ground, and people. I've heard people saying that you're negative at times and etc. And I laugh at it because that is anything. What you've just said is anything but negative. Now, the next question's from Brian. Here's a comical person, by the way. So you have to try and answer this seriously, Dan. How hard do you laugh every time that you get on a tube that is going to Cockfosters?
That's excellent. You know what's mad, right? What's absolutely mad is my friend actually lives there. A friend of mine lives in Cockfosters. Very nice place, by the way. Very nice place. And I don't think I'd be able to afford to live there, put it that way. But it's a very nice place. I think Arsene Wenger lived there when he was a manager of Arsenal. There's a lot of the Arsenal team that live in and around that area because it's a lovely place. But there was a joke that a friend of mine told me that he's basically just used to get drunk, get on the tube, and then he'd fall asleep, and he'd end up in Cockfosters every single time. And he said, "I've done the right thing now," and and we thought, "Oh, he stopped drinking." He went, "I've done the right thing now. I've just moved to Cockfosters." So it always reminds me of that when you say it. But yeah, Cockfosters is a nice place, apparently.
Yeah, I've done that. I came down for the Forest game and fell asleep on the tube as well. Walk away. It stopped. It was early. It was a 12:30 kickoff, and we were in the pub early, mate. So by the time that I got back on the tube, I was hammered. But luckily, it stopped. One stop before mine, and I had to smoke tube, so it was all good. It was all good. Somebody woke us up. Right, moving on to Arsenal. This week, just brief, Spurs, Bayern and Chelsea. What was your thoughts, bro?
Well, I was buzzing as everyone was at the North London derby. I really felt like we turned up that day, and Eberechi was on fire. I felt like there was a hell of a lot more individual performances that really rung true for me, though. Just alongside there's a Timber, I'm starting to run out of superlatives for how good this kid is. I think he's a ridiculous fullback, and probably by the time he ends his career at Arsenal, which I hope he does, I think he'll be remembered as like a Dixon or a Lauren. And maybe if the trophies come along, he might be recognised as someone who's better than those. Declan Rice has been playing out of his skin against Bayern Munich and Tottenham. I thought he was outstanding. Zubimendi's really complemented that, I think, as well. I don't think enough people are talking about Zubimendi. Not that I think he's been unbelievable and the best I've seen, but at the same time, I think alongside Declan Rice, he's really complemented him. And I think Trossard deserves a lot of mention as well. I know he's been out at the moment with the last couple of games, but I will say this, I think he's been really good for us. And it was not a player that I wanted to see starting every game on the left. I thought he was more of an impact sub, but certainly a squad player at that. So the Tottenham game was outstanding. I loved the crowd before. The Tifo was excellent this time. And big up to the crowd for that. The fans are definitely being listened to, because I know for a fact that that was a fan Tifo that was spoken around the club, because the guy sits pretty much next to me who dealt with that. So that was amazing. It's always good to beat Tottenham. And when you have a week of Tottenham, Bayern and Chelsea and you don't lose, you're going to come out of it being happy. But actually to beat Bayern Munich and Tottenham the way we did convincingly, I thought was excellent. I thought we were outstanding against Bayern Munich. And I think second half, it's probably one of the best performances I've seen under Mikel Arteta. I thought everybody was excellent. I thought Declan Rice through every blade of grass. I was a massive fan of the performances of Mikel Merino in both of those games in terms of what he was doing, dropping off and holding the ball up, and how he was using his attributes. I think he's been a really good squad player for us, and it's a good signing for us. And defensively, you've got to look at Nkapie and Mosquera coming in now. And not long ago, that was Rob Holding and Tomiyasu or Ben White trying to play there. We're now in a position where these two have come in, and actually they've taken us to the kind of confidence and reassurance that if Saliba and Gabriel were out, then we have actually got someone that can come in and do a job. Now, they're never going to be the same level as those two players, because they're the best on the planet, in my opinion, right? But they've been really good, and I think they deserve a mention. And then lastly, on the Chelsea game, I'll be real, I'm disappointed, because I felt like they were there for the taking with 10 men. But I'm disappointed more, not so much with Arteta, but with the players, because I don't feel like the players wanted it as much. I think Chelsea players come with more fight. I think Chelsea players showed at home they can be a force to be reckoned with. And with 11v11, maybe it's a different result. Reece James was unplayable. I thought he was by far the man of the match on the day. And as much as I'm not massively impressed by what Chelsea have done across this season, they're a team that can be hard to beat on their day. And that was what they were. I don't think we were out of the races. And maybe we showed a little bit of tiredness from the Bayern and Tottenham game, but we definitely do have the squad to compete and rotate now. So I'm a big fan of what we're doing, and I just hope that this carries on now and we pick it back up against Brentford. That's what I hope.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm glad you mentioned Zubimendi, because I watched one of your podcasts, and I'll not mention names in that, but there was a few people diving into Zubimendi, and I'm actually shocked. I think Zubimendi has been absolutely outstanding. I think he's, compared to certain players in the Premier League that have not hit the ground running at their clubs, we can name a couple straight off at Liverpool. I think Zubimendi has done brilliant, and you can see the relationship with Rice starting to gather there. Are you happy with that signing and what he's produced so far?
Yeah, I'm very happy with the signing. I don't think he's physically as good as Thomas Partey, but I think on the ball, he's definitely allowed us a hell of a lot more. And I do think that the complementary kind of performances of Declan Rice has been because of Zubimendi. Now, look, Rice has got to do it as well, because individually he's been outstanding, but I think he's been allowed to do the role that he's definitely perfectly fit for. And I kind of questioned whether we misprofiled him last season a bit, where we're kind of asking him to be a Frank Lampard, and I never thought he was that. He's definitely not an attacking midfielder, Declan Rice, because what you do when you put him up there and just leave him sort of floating around for the ball to come back, I don't think we see anywhere near the amount of athleticism in box-to-box role, and I don't think he's defensively anywhere near as good in that high attacking 8 role. So in an advanced role, I'm not a fan. He can do a job there, by the way, and he proved that. But as a box-to-box, I think he's world-class. Declan Rice as a box-to-box. I think he's ridiculous. And I said to Kenny Kennan and a few others, I think he's more of a 6, and they thought he's more of an attacking 8. He's actually neither. He's not here, he's not there, he's here. And that's where he is. And doing this with Zubimendi, I think it's excellent to watch. And I think Zubimendi has been a good signing, and I think it has complemented Declan Rice, and I think that's why his performances have been elite level.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Just a couple more minutes, Dan. Do you want to just give your general feelings of the season so far and where's your head's at?
Sure. I've been really impressed. Really impressed. I think Mikel Arteta has massively impressed a lot of the doubters, and I've been one of those in the past. I think what he's done is he's learned in terms of some of his team selections, and he's definitely learned from some of his in-game substitutions. I've been very impressed with his use of his subs this season at times as well. There's only been a couple which I would have probably changed myself. The only real disappointments to me was the start against against Liverpool and Manchester City, where I felt like we just went a little bit too negative and defensive. I felt we really could have had a go at them. And I think that, okay, we lost the game at Liverpool to a Szoboszlai worldy free kick, but I don't think we ever looked like taking 3 points in that game. And I have to be real and brutal and say it was very similar against Manchester City, where we find ourselves 1-0 down. We went defensive, didn't expect that, and Martinelli gets the last-minute equaliser. But I never really thought we were taking 3 points from that. The Sunderland game, again, I'll be honest, just like Liverpool and Manchester City, I felt it was a fair result. I think Sunderland were excellent on the day, and I think they deserved definitely a point out of that game. So I think some people will look at that and go, well, we should have beaten Liverpool, should have beaten City, should have beaten Sunderland, and we should have beaten Chelsea. I kind of disagree with all four. I think Chelsea deserved their point because they fought in and got it. Sunderland fought in and definitely deserved something out of that game. Manchester City didn't deserve to lose the game against the Emirates because I don't think they set up to lose. And then right at the end, they were trying to keep hold of their 1-0 and they ended up. So they didn't deserve to lose it. They deserved to try and cling on to something, and that's exactly what they got. And I think Liverpool, we didn't deserve to win, and they got a worldy free kick. It was a 0-0, really. That's the only one you could say was a little bit unlucky. All the others, I think we pretty much deserved it. But in the games we've won, Mark, I think we've been outstanding. I really do. And the one big difference that I've seen this season is the squad depth, mate. The summer was unbelievable with Andrea Berta. It makes you question what the hell Edu was doing, let's be honest, because Andrea Berta was incredible that summer. To bring in 8 players, and we've still not really seen our best 11 yet. I mean, people are speaking about, injuries, and it shouldn't be an excuse. I agree with that, and it won't be an excuse now because of our squad depth. But we are still getting them. Like, we have had pretty much a whole attack out for the majority of the season. Havertz, Jesus, Odegaard, Gyökeres has been injured. Martinelli has been injured. Madueke has been injured. And then you go to the midfield and the defence, and you think, actually, that's starting to happen now with us, where we've got Gabriel out. Saliba's been out with a knock. Ben White has had some injury problems. So when I look at the amount of injuries we've had again, one, I might have to question why we're getting so many. But two, you have to appreciate the squad that's actually coming in and doing a job when those players are out. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned from it. We're in a really good position. To sum up the season, I feel like right now we're the best team in it. But you don't win anything in December. You've got to go and win it in May. So we have to remain consistent. We have to keep our heads. And I think we'll have a great chance this season. I really do.
That's brilliant. Dan, this has been an absolute pleasure for me, and I never disappointed. It feels like it's been going for 2 minutes, and we're nearly at the end. What do you have coming up, bro, and where can people find you? Apart from on every channel on YouTube.
No, big up to you, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And make sure you do me a favor, people. Hit like and subscribe on this one, man. We need to get these people up to where they deserve to be in terms of subs and subscribers and views. So make sure you're showing some love to them. If you do want to come follow me more, it's Football's 12th Man or Dan Arsenal 87 on all socials. But thanks for having me, Mark. I appreciate you, bro.
I'll drop all your everything into the description and that, mate. And thanks, and keep blowing up the internet, mate, because honestly, you're doing a madness and it's brilliant, Dan. And I don't often, sometimes I don't get the opportunity to like watch you live, but trust me, I always jump back on and do catch up. So
thanks, man.
So guys, you've been watching Ashburton Army. This is the legend Dan Potts from the 12th Man podcast. Jump over, give him a sub, and honestly, do watch his stuff. There is something for everyone, and there's always a bit of banter in there and a bit of laughter. So until the next one, big up, bro.